Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of DLU. Today, let's talk about AI and how people are trying to have it take over everything that we do. Without further ado, let's get this episode started.
Devs like us is the community.
JB.
Howdy. How's it going?
Can't complain. Living life. How's work?
Much. Work is good. Learning, growing, building, all the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. So you're in AI. Are you trying to take my job?
Absolutely not. I'm trying to use AI to keep my job, so
Same here.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow the principles of let the AI do its one good thing. We don't need it to do everything.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So I guess we can start off with Chamath. He had a pretty good quote because I know a lot of developers are worried with like ChatGPT and like is able to regurgitate code or spit out code, and it's kind of scary. Like we've been building up these skill sets, and so I think he had a pretty good line about he compares like refrigeration and how that technology kind of changed the landscape. So, but I'm talking too much. Let's see what he has to say.
What's important, though, is this Buffett quote. A friend of mine told me this yesterday, which I love. He told this story about refrigeration, and the story he tells is that the people and the person that invented refrigeration made some money, but most of the money was made by Coca-Cola, who used refrigeration to build an empire. And I view these large language models as refrigeration. Will there be some money made in it? I think so. But the Coca-Cola has yet to be built. And those are the companies that are really going to monetize it. And in order to monetize it well, here's a basic thing about machine learning that's worth knowing, which is if you take 1,000 of the same inputs and give it to Facebook and Microsoft and Google and Amazon, they'll all come up with the same machine learning model. But if you have one extra thing, one little ingredient that all of those other companies don't have, your output can be markedly different. It's like giving two great chefs 3 ingredients, but you give the third chef one extra one. That person has the ability to do something very special. So right now we are in the world where everybody is crawling the open web. We're going to move to a world where as everybody gets sophisticated enough, where when refrigeration is widely available, somebody's going to say, you know what, this site, I'm not going to allow anybody else to access. It's only me, only for my models. And those models will become better.
Okay, we can fall in love with this. I'll put this. It's like a 8-minute video total, but I'll put that in the chat. But I think that's kind of a cool way of looking at it because I'm not gonna lie, I got a little mad. I'm like, man, this is
what's going to happen to my job?
Right? Because it's like
I just got here.
all the data research, like all the data before we went to school said this was going to be great, and it still is. And so I think like, and then another quote I saw was, with the gold rush, the people who went, like it wasn't just like the people who were going to the gold rush who got rich. It was like the people who sold the shovels. So it's like when these ecosystems develop and these new landscapes arrive, it's like it's more about thinking about what are the new needs. So the old need, there were a set of old needs, and those old needs are still, will, in my opinion, still thrive for a while. But then there will be these new needs that arrive, and it's more so kind of get a good high level picture of like what
it looks like,
cool new things we can do to support like all the new needs that are in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, like, just think about how I'll go with 7-8 years ago, it was GPUs were just solely used for computer graphics, computer games, and in your gaming systems. Now these things have grown to be so important, and the ability to do calculations in parallel so well that now we're using them for machine learning to get to this point. And so I see the GPUs as the shovels for the gold rush of AI development, because it was all the thing of like, all right, how can we get these CPUs to be faster? Well, maybe it's just that we don't use the CPUs. We just use the CPUs as the transfer to the GPU of, all right, let me upload this data, transfer it over to the GPU, and get all my processing and calculations done there. Um, so yeah, I feel like it's all about perspective. And the fact that there are so many people who are like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be the end all be all, this is gonna be some great thing. And I'm like, no, it's just one new thing. Yes, it's definitely going to change the landscape of things, but this is something that people have been chasing for years. Um, AI has been something that's been talked about in the 90s, parts of the 80s. Like, this has been going on for decades. And
Right.
so, like, to, run around like houses are on fire, it's like, how about we just calm down, see what actually
Right.
happens?
Right.
Uh, because right now, jobs are noticing that, hey, we're hiring people. And, everybody's seeming to get these coding interviews, just fine. No one's having an issue. And it's like, are they using ChatGPT? Well, that just means that they will now go into the mindset of how can we figure out this fake? Because it's essentially the same as the deep fakes with the videos and the audios. All right, how can we figure out this fake of this code? Because uh, no two codes will look alike.
Yeah.
The um, the concept will still be there, but the way people name variables, the way people do their if else statements, the way people do their loops, certain people have certain standards and their spacing. All these different things are factors into how people code,
Yeah.
and so like if I'm starting to see that everybody is, all right, we're doing, the four spaces or a tab, and you know, they have their if else it's plus plus I instead of I plus plus and all these different things. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe I need to, figure out some stuff, especially if
Right.
it's like beginner versus, season, because of the fact of like certain aspects of programming you'll see in a beginner and you'll be like, yeah, that's beginner's code,
Yeah.
because they're not really thinking about all of the efficiencies that they can get into. So
Yeah. And when I'm looking at like the change in landscape, one of the things I'm happy, and I think that will be beneficial in the future too, is um, like started out with with development, and then web development, then got into the cloud computing space. And like cloud computing is like still, even though there's a lot of automation, there's still like a lot of like
hmm
management, and like there's a lot of knowledge that needs to be adapted for like this new landscape as well. So like you'll see ML ops, and like you look at a map of like all the different kind of like practices of implementing ML ops, and that's like an
hmm
entire career in itself, because all this stuff has to run on something, and it needs, like you said with the chips, like all this stuff comes at a cost. So,
yep.
um, how can we make this more affordable so those small teams or developers can leverage some of these models and do it in a way where it's not like $1 million just to be able to apply some of these things. And so
hmm
even just looking at like the application landscape for applying AI to like small applications, there are a ton of like open source models where if we can just get in the right mindset as developers, there's still a lot of things that we can develop to solve like some really
hmm
cool problems. And a lot of times it's just living life. We'll be going through different things like, how could I apply AI to this? How could I apply machine learning to this? And
hmm
I think it's just more so looking at a different mindset, and just to see, how we can solve problems. And it's not all like just solving like pictures and stuff. There's like real life things we can apply these things to make our lives better. So are you looking to position yourself differently with like all the things that's changing, and kind of like what's your
um
mindset with, because one of the things as developers or in the tech space in general is we're always like looking for what's now, what's current, and then what's coming. And it's almost like there's a balancing act between like
yes.
being good with what's now, then also preparing for what's coming in the future. So like,
Yeah. um for me, I'm trying not to get into the mindset of trying to juggle everything, because trying to juggle everything, I'm gonna end up dropping all of it. Uh, and so right now, I'm just like, all right, let's focus on the parts that we have in front of us now. And kind of like in my free time, I'll look into different languages and what's the efficiencies that come with those. What's the best use case for certain languages? Like Rust versus Go and Python and all these different things, because all these things are coming out, and there are a bunch of companies who are like, oh no, I want to develop a new tech. I want to develop a new tech, and it's like, is the new tech even efficient for what you're trying to do? Um, so yeah, it's just about me getting myself in the mindset of, all right, let's see what one speaks to me, because I don't want to just jump to the next hot topic and I'm not even really a fan of it, because
Right.
then my day to day is going to suck, because I'm just like, all right, well, I just got to push this button and it'll make my ChatGPT model, and go from there. So yeah.
Because I'm with you. Like, I'm all for applying this technology, but when you look at like the pure math of it, it's no, I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I know
I am
enough to understand like
hmm
the concepts and I'm apply it, but you're not gonna see me creating
yeah, I'm not a
like
mathematician by any means.
exactly. It's like mathematicians, physicists love this stuff because
Yeah,
they feel at home with it. But
I appreciate each and every one of them, but
yeah,
not for me.
yeah. So I was gonna play another clip with some of the
hmm
cool ideas emerging in the space.
of turning raw data into an actual deployed machine learning model is called ML Ops. Tools on Google Cloud like Vertex AI handle every step of the process. They ingest and process data, they train and evaluate models, and then deploy them to serverless infrastructure where you can actually use them in an app. In addition, there are tools like Hugging Face that provides ML Ops as a service, but they provide thousands of open source pre-trained models that you can use as a starting point. Most importantly, you'll want to get really good at some kind of a specialized use case. An example that comes to mind is Play.
See how cool that is?
Yeah.
Like people are open sourcing these models. So like I said, you don't even have to really like implement like everything, but it's more so knowing how to apply it. And then that's when to me, like today's developer skills can come in to where like, oh, we could wrap an API around this model. Like that is to me is like all of our skills are still not lost. This was a cool one. This was the AI, you know how they get a sample of your voice.
Which can create custom AI generated voices. They have an entire fake podcast between Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs. And for all you know, my voice could be entirely AI generated right now.
You can clone your own voice. It is crazy good.
It's not.
My name is Jeff.
But I did look into it, and it costs tens of thousands of dollars to get your voice cloned, which is understandable because there's very few companies that can actually offer this service at a high level, at least in today's world. Another crazy example is Beat Oven, which I'm using right now to generate this inappropriately tense background music. It combines generative AI with real music to create unique music. Or how about Resume Worded, a tool that can analyze your resume and LinkedIn profile. If you never learned to read good or write good, AI can now do all the heavy lifting. And I guarantee you there are developers right now building AI apps that will help kids cheat on their homework. At the same time, other developers are building tools to prevent AI cheating by using AI. There's a ton of different...
That's kind of like what you said earlier. There's like people who will go on one end and there's going to be people who need to defend. Like security is going to be all like, because we still haven't mastered securing all the old type of like interfaces that we need to secure. And now like with AI, to me, there's a whole nother domain of like security minded people who need to know how to secure these things. Because just imagine like people get with that voice thing, like people are still giving people money who call them, like especially elderly. And like imagine somebody like it's your grandson's voice on the other end.
It's like, hey,
and you're elder, like
some money. My car broke down and da da da. It's like, all right, baby, I'm gonna send you the money. And it's like your grandchild was in class at that point in time. They were perfectly fine.
Exactly.
But yeah, like stuff like that. Like I've looked at what was it? Was it Happy Smiles or Hugging?
Oh, you
see,
like,
yeah. So I've looked at that one. I'm pretty sure it was for YOLO V7, maybe YOLO V8, where definitely YOLO V7, where they uploaded the model onto that website. And so I was looking at it to, hey, all right, let me pull it down and, try and test it on my custom data set. And I ran into some issues and things like that. And so now I'm like, all right, let's go back to the drawing board, figure out, where I went wrong as far as was the lighting off, and in those pictures was it not a good variation of pictures? Was too much grainy, like not enough, like just trying to figure out where I went wrong as far as my model being overfitted, and so looking into stuff like overfitting and underfitting, and all those things, and so yeah.
Yeah, this is so cool though. Like even if like it's not a
Hmm.
direct, like you can't just plug and play necessarily all the time. It's not a perfect fit, but like
Yeah.
you still had the technical know-how to say, okay, I could use this as a starting point and like
Hmm.
go from here or learn from that. So to me, it's cool to just see like all this stuff is still somewhat open, and it's just a new it's not a new paradigm, but it's going to be more normal. This is going to be a normal, more of a normal skill set.
Yeah.
Just like you have front end, back end, there's going to be like, to me, like the AI skill set in almost like a lot of these teams moving forward in
Oh yeah,
the
definitely.
future.
I can see that being essentially a department,
Yeah.
where it's like, all right, guys, I just need you to focus on building the models, the frameworks, all these different things, and then our software developers will build everything that it needs to go around it, whether it's the database that's feeding the information, the front end of web browser, web application, what have you, and so yeah, I don't foresee it taking my job. Come back and talk to me in 10 years, and I may or may not be crying about my job, or I may just be like, "See, guys, I told you it was no problem."
Yeah.
Uh, but I think with moves like this, it's all about us being willing to pivot, um, because with certain companies, they may, trying to incorporate this, but I feel like they would probably incorporate it in like a low code, no code type situation where it's like, oh, I need you to do this rudimentary thing for me, real quickly. And someone gets that piece going, and then they can go and code up or do whatever they have to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's exciting. Like I said, starting out, and it wasn't just now, but like even like when we ever really had the conversation of, oh, developers are going away, it
Hmm.
was one of those feelings where you naturally just feel like it's like slightly depressing, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think, but yeah, I don't think it's necessarily true. I think just the nature and the day to day, it's not going to look the same. And that's how it's always been since the start of technology. Like
Hmm.
it looks different from 2 years ago. So,
Yeah. And I mean, with the great layoffs that we're having now, that also makes it difficult because it's like people are like, oh my gosh, companies are laying off people, and they're trying to speculate why companies are laying off people and everything like that. And it's like, well, have you taken a look at the stock market? Stocks
yeah.
aren't doing too well, and so money and things like that. Granted, some of these companies, I'm like, this quarter looked really good for you, like,
Yep. And they
you
still did
know,
it because,
uh,
yeah,
yeah, and
it's,
so
it's a
it's
money
like,
move, but it wasn't necessary for everyone. It wasn't like a have to, it was more like a greed.
yeah. And
And
so,
yeah.
capitalism strikes again. But yeah, we're in a volatile time when it comes to being in tech. Because a lot of people are saying that tech is being oversaturated because a lot of people are starting to move from teaching or nursing, all these different fields and coming into tech and getting jobs. And I'm like, okay, but people are still going to need tech to build and grow. And so, all right, someone got that healthcare job probably because they worked in healthcare and now they also have the technical know-how. So it makes it a lot easier for them to get the concepts of something, whereas you will be good in some other area. And so, yeah, I feel like looking at the tech layoffs and then looking at the movement of AI, some people are getting frazzled by it, but it's like you you kind of got to take it in stride. Not to say that, oh my gosh, guys, don't be dumb, don't panic, but don't make it all consuming panic is
Yeah.
my main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for closing thoughts for me, I would just say, um, and this is something that we were told
Hmm.
a long time ago before getting tech, is that um, it's a career of lifelong like learning. Like you're always gonna have to learn, and so
Yeah.
just keep learning, being willing to learn, and like be optimistic and excited about the future, and then like just look for new ways to apply your skill set. So that's what I would have to say in closing. JB, you have any closing thoughts for the people?
My main thing is piggybacking on that. You don't pigeonhole yourself. Find that thing that really piques your interest, that you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this, and kind of go forward with it. That doesn't mean that you're just like going to beat the dead horse of like, nope, this is going to be great, and this is the only thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life, because technology moves too fast for that to be your mindset. Unless it's some super specialized skill that a company is like, all right, we're going to need this like forever. But yeah, don't be scared by it. I say embrace it. Figure out how you can incorporate it into what you do.
Nice. Yeah. Agreed. All right, Dev Like Us crew, you heard it. Embrace the now and the future. This has been another episode. I'm Terrence.
I'm JB. We're missing Clarence.
Yeah, we're missing Clarence. He's probably out hunting or something. We'll check in on him. But yeah. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and let us know in the comments what you think about AI and how it's changing the developer landscape.
Definitely.
All right. See you next time.
Devs Like Us is the community.